Hello, SuperCoach and Inner Sanctum fans. Welcome to the SuperCoach Sanctum podcast round 13 review and a bit of a look ahead to the round 14 mega buy round with 6 teams out for the round. I've got Mike and Dan with me. How you going, Mike? And how'd your team go this week, buddy?
Look, I thought I was doing well. 2160, was quite happy with that performance. Fourth or fifth in my league, but lost them all. So, what are you going to do? I think it's just one of those years. Call me Carlton.
As I say, you sound like a Carlton supporter. Dan, speaking of which, how'd your team go? How you doing?
Look, it could be better. My team's an absolute shambles. Not my Supercoach team, my football team, Carlton. Don't know what's going on. Can't kick a goal to save ourselves. Literally, we didn't kick enough goals. We kicked what did we kick in the end? Like 6 goals, 20 or something. I don't know, whatever. It's just pathetic. Supercoach 2086, not great. I think I was 2 out of 4 league wins. And yeah, there's one person in particular I'm going to hang it on. So wait and see.
We look forward to that as always. I managed to win all 6 of my leagues, scored 22-20, which was like 1500th overall for the round, which was pretty great. I'll talk about a couple of people that still let me down in a minute. We'll get straight into our Garys and our Nathans for those joining us for the first time, which will be heaps, I'm sure. We just have our Gary Ablets and our Nathan Ablets for our team from the round, those that dominate and those that maybe not so much. Dan, I might start with you. Who's your Gary and your Nathan for us this week, mate?
So my Gary this week was Rory Laird, 156 points, absolutely starred. But I think I've got to spend a bit of time talking about this Nathan. This guy is someone that lots of people just got rid of, but I stuck with him. I stuck true. I kept him in my side, thinking that he'd be back. And he was supposed to be back, only to find out that the guy can't keep his feet clean. And that would be this guy, Clayton Oliver. Blister on your foot? Infected? Go to hospital? What is going on here? Wash your feet. Clayton Oliver, you are my Nathan for this week. Go have a shower, get some lavender scrub on those toes and be back out there after you buy. Now I've got to wait another week for you to bloody turn up. Clayton.
Glorious. Mike, mate, what about you Garys and Nathans? I'm disappointed, Dan, by the way, there's no picture of a blister or something, but anyway. Would have put us off.
Yeah, my Gary for the round, look, he's in nearly everybody's side, but I tell you, it just takes a pump up from Cornsey to tell you that you're not in the top 50 to start playing some, all Australian type skill and performances. 138 again. He is scoring at will, kicking goals at will. Tim Taranto, very, very good. I still don't think you're the best kick in the league and probably not the top 150 in kicks, but you know how to get the ball, you know how to kick some goals. So well done to you. But I tell you, my Nathan, and this is the 3rd time I've had this guy as my Nathan this year, and that is the captain of the Carlton Football Club in Patrick Cripps. And let me, I didn't have him in my team last year. In fact, for those of our loyal viewers who would have recalled, I said last year I brought him in. He did his hamstring. I took him out, and he came back after 1 week. So I ended up trading him in and out 3 times. But this year, after winning a Brownlow medal, his last 6 games, 83, 60, 87, 77, 89, and 58. Now, you think he's got to be injured. He looked okay to me, but he is producing some absolute filth at the moment for those who still have him in their Supercoach side. And I think you got the buy this round. He will not be in my Supercoach side anymore. Ta-ta, Patrick.
I was going to say, you go, Dan. Sorry, mate.
I was just going to say, is that the curse of the Brownlow medalists? Do you remember Ollie Wines won it? What was that? 2022, 2021?
No,
and absolutely stunk it up the next year. Yeah, no, because that was Cripper. But he absolutely stunk it up the next year. Tom Mitchell won it and was an absolute fantasy pick. Broke his leg over the summer break and didn't play. I don't know. There might be something there.
In fairness to
Leave
Tom,
I'll look it up.
don't think that had anything to do with form.
It did. What I'm disappointed in, Mike, is I can't believe that he's been near Nathan 3 times, but he's still in the team. He should have been on the second time at least.
It goes to show you how poorly I am doing this year that I've had to keep him in because I've been trying to fix holes everywhere else and every other line in my side.
Well, my Gary was also Rory Laird. I'll put my Gary picture up. I had 156 doubles, so that really helped the cause. First time this year, I reckon I've picked the captain correctly, and I actually really struggled given my score to have a Nathan. I guess Tom Green would be my one because I ended up not having his score count. You wouldn't have thought at the start of the round both him and Luke Ryan's scores weren't part of my best 18, so he got just 77. I watched that game. He seemed to get a heap of it, but I don't know why he scored so low. But just being a bit picky there. So nice work, Rory Laird. Cool. As we do always, we'll have a bit of look at the rookies coming up for us to choose from this week. There hasn't been much out there, so we threw up a couple last week. Dan, I threw to you. We threw up Lewis Melican, the Pelican, you called him. Did you bring him in after one game? And if so, what are the thoughts for people now he's played 2?
I am renowned for bringing people in after 1 week just because why not? But no, I didn't do it this time. I actually went a bit left field and then forgot that he was in the team and just sort of had to roll with it. I ended up getting your boy Himmelberg, who scored 88 points. That was good. Look, it was good enough. It was fine. Just the guy that I traded him out for scored 95 or something. So, whatever. But no, Lewis, I think he's actually an interesting proposition. So he's clear of the bye now. So no more buys. Paddy McCartan, as we were sort of saying last week, out for a considerable amount of time. He scored 87 and 52. He's getting intercept possessions, which always helps the score. And he doesn't bite off more than he can chew. So his disposal efficiency is always going to be reasonably high. So it's an interesting one. He's only 172.3K with, as I said, probably pretty good job security. So it's just going to be an interesting one to look out for.
Yeah, I listened to you last week and just brought him in just because I figured I needed some. I actually didn't get space, just that as an emergency, but I had enough defenders not playing, so I've got him there for the rest of the bye rounds. He'll get a game, and hopefully he can score a bit better than he did this week. Another one, Mike, is Oyson Mullen. We talked about him last week. You weren't here with us. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, look, I glad you said his name because I call him Hoisin. I assume that's what it was.
I think it's Oishin, actually. I don't know. We'll get if he's watching, he can let us know what it is. Oishin, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Mullen,
yeah.
we'll call
so
him.
Look, I brought him in honestly just to make a bit of cash to help an upgrade in a certain area, which I'm probably not alone in that. You're back this week. You've got a few mids coming back into the fold, a few returning players. So I doubt he's probably going to have some job security over the next half a dozen weeks to really make you anything. But for me, he was simply a matter of, I think I ended up getting a McRae and possibly a Butters or someone else out of a triple trade through the buys. So he was really my opportunity to downgrade. If he's still at 102,000, so if he does get picked, there's an opportunity there to have another scoring player when you've only got 18 and potentially upgrade to one of the premiums. Whoever had the buy or even potentially coming back after the next round.
And while I've got you there, Mike, tell us about your West Coast debutant, Ryan Marriage.
Well, look, if we're relying on an 18-year-old mid-season rookie to come in and be our leading goal scorer of the game, that's really saying something about my side at the moment. Look, if the ball gets down there, he's got some ability. I saw a few things where he made some good decisions, but he's going to be starved of opportunity. he's definitely going to get games. So if there's, I wouldn't be rushing him in after one game. He might score more points in the bye next week than he did last week, but maybe the following week back home, just see how he goes. And at 102,000, again, one of those opportunities like hoist in to really make some cash.
Yeah, and one I also mentioned last week was Taron Thomas. I raised his name after his one game of 89. He backed it up with 112. He is 296k. North have their bye, I believe, the last bye in round 15. So if you're going to grab him and you want him for that price, you're going to have to grab him and then have him miss a week in round 15. But he played the whole time in the middle and looked. I don't see why. I mean, LDU and who's the other bloke? Simkin. They weren't there, so I don't know where he'll play once they're back. But he looked well and truly like he was going to average 90 plus. So he might be one to consider as well. Another
Job
one
security, yes, but you never know. And the next controversy is probably just around the corner. So job security, yes, but maybe in and out of the team.
And one else that
keep him away from his phone.
Yeah. One also that got floated that I read out there in the internet world was Devon Robertson from Brisbane, who scored 84, and it was actually his first full game for the season. So, what are your thoughts, Dan? Given that he's only 186k and he might be, McCluggage might be out for a little bit.
Yeah, it's always just that case of job security and how long that's he's going to be out for. The good thing is that Brisbane's obviously now clear of their bye, so he's got some fresh air in the next coming weeks to score. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one just to see if he's able to hold that spot. There's still a few people out of that Brisbane side. They obviously went down to the Hawks, so maybe there's going to be a few people on the chopping block this week, and hopefully he's not one of them, given that he played quite well. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one just to monitor this week. If he gets named, think about it. Honestly, he's a quality player. I think I remember a couple of 100+ scores last year. So worth rolling the dice on.
Mike, it looks like you've got like angelic wings almost with Cripper's hands.
Well, there's nothing angelic about Cripps at the moment, let me assure you. This is more a what the hell look rather than an angelic look.
I think it's I've carried the team for about 10 weeks and I'm stuffed. I can't do it any longer. I need some help, guys.
I thought you were talking about your podcast for a second there, mate. All right, let's move on and have a chat. Like last week, we looked at the mid-season awards for the forwards and the backs. So this week we are going to look at the those dominating and the mid-season awards we've got for the mids and the rucks. I might throw to you, Dan. You can run us through the mids and who's performing at best and who we should probably have for sure if we haven't got them already.
So just as a bit of an asterisk against this one, these were done prior to the end of round 13. We're recording a little bit earlier thanks to this Monday game than we would usually. So it was just, I think they've been updated now, but it's just not in time for the podcast. So run through from 8 to 1. And the other sort of thing to note is that I haven't included some of those dual position players in the midfield this time, just because we did name them across other lines, and I can't really see why you would really want to have a player that's a dual position player across another line and leave them in mid, because typically midfielders do score better than the forwards and defenders. And I think that the lowest rated midfielder on this list is still going to be higher than the lowest rated defender and forward. So here we go. In 8th spot for season average, we've got Josh Kelly at 110.4. We've got Rory Laird at number 7 with 111.8. Number 6, Zach Merritt with 112.7 is his average. Number 5, Caleb Zorong. Number 4, Tom Liberatore, and he's going to come up in a moment as one of our points of difference. And then the top 3 really separate themselves out with averages in the 120 plus range. and that's Christian Petrarca with number 3, Clayton Oliver, the guy who can't wash his feet, in number 2, and probably has to be the best player in the competition at the moment, Marcus Bontempelli, with 126.4 as his average. Of those 8, who do we think are absolute locks?
Mike, let you go first, buddy.
Well, I mean, you got to look at, if you haven't got them in already, when is their buy if they haven't had it already? I looking at this list of 8, I picked one of those at the start of the year, which probably says a lot as to my form this year. I do have 3 of them now, but one for me that I'm looking to get in, it's Caleb Sarong. He's not getting 150s followed by hundreds. He's getting 100, 110 to 120 every single week. So he's one that I will definitely be looking, and he's not as expensive as the others. He's also, his break even is up around the 140, 150 mark for this round. Already had the buy. So maybe, if not this round, into the next round, we might slightly drop in value. I'll be looking at Caleb, and I haven't got Petrarca, and I ditched Oliver, so I'll be looking to pop him. Glad I did. Looking to pop him back in post his buy. I did bring in Zach Merritt, really, really good, and I'm really wishing I brought in Roy Laird at the start of the year, but you can't pick them all, unfortunately, and sometimes it's the primos you pick in the midfield, a la Cripps not performing, that really can set up your season to the betterment or to the worse.
Oh, I thought we were listening to Mick then. You were waffling a fair bit, but all good.
We missed the poor bugger, right? I'm at least I'm not telling you what Dan's already said, so at least providing some value for Mick in his absence.
That's true. Well, from my perspective,
We'll
no
see
one's
if he watches.
Oh, yeah, exactly. At least he might watch. No one's going Josh Kelly because he's too injury prone. Laird's great. I've had Libba for about 6 weeks now, which is sort of coincides with my team getting a bit better. I can't believe only 7.5% of people still own him, but I don't have the bond because I sort of, for some reason, think that you should. I never want 2 blokes on the same line from the same side. I don't know, just weird thoughts. Even I've got McRae in my forward line, so go figure. But I don't have it. I don't have the bond, and I was all ready to bring in Oliver until he got injured. So I've got the cash ready to go post their buy. But yeah, I think that you're right. Like the Dunkley, Taranto, Dawson, they're higher ranked than some of those other blokes. But in terms of the, you could certainly have them in their forward/defender spots, which you should. Interestingly as well, like if you go by the 5-round average, I think that's why my side's going a bit better. Folks like Brayshaw, McRae, Butters, they're the ones that are actually been performing really well the last few weeks. So I think if you haven't got some of these blokes, but you've already got the Brayshaws or the McRaes or whoever it is, then it's probably not worth trading those blokes out just to try and get one of the top 3. But if you've still got spots to fill in your midfield, I'd be trying to pick one of those top 3 for sure. Your thoughts, Dan?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the top 3 are head and shoulders above the rest, and the average sort of speaks to that, and the total points scored kind of speaks for that. Apart from Clayton Oliver, who's usually pretty durable. So yeah, I just think that those are the 3 that you can build your midfield around, and then the next step, like you were saying, you might get a couple of people in a purple patch that are able to score in that 110 to 120 range consistently. I don't think it's as of a necessity to get in those the ranked 4 to 8. I think there's enough variety there. The only other 2 to toss up would be 3 to toss up would be your boy Brayshaw, Chad Warner, and potentially Matt Rowell. Any interest in any of those 3?
I love Brayshaw, so he's been with me all year. It's been a love-hate relationship, but it's now pure love. Mike, what about you and Lockie Neal? Have you had him from memory, or you got him?
Yeah,
or...
and again, And Lockie Neal, like Cripps, I mean, he's had his up and down year. Lockie Neal, he's been tagged heavily in a number of games this year, and he tagged again by Nash on the weekend. He's ranked number 9 overall. I think he was ranked 2nd or 3rd last year. But I'll obviously be holding on to him. He's still churning out hundreds, even if he is tagged, and it's not worth the trade. I'll have a look at Warner, but I think it's those ones in the top 8 that I'll be looking to bring in, especially post round 14 when Oliver and Petrarca are back.
Sounds like we're all keen on those top 3, and I should imagine the teams that are on top or in the top couple hundred would have those guys for sure. We'll move on to the awards for the rucks for this year. Just the 2 awards to give out, Dan.
Yeah, there's no prize for 3rd place. If you're not 1st or 2nd, you're last in the ruck stocks. It's an interesting one because obviously we've been talking about the fact that we've been doing this ranking on season average and not on total points. So it's worth noting that they are different. And there is lots of case to say that total points is more important across the whole season, especially if you're looking for that overall victory. But here we are. So number 2, according to average, is a guy that I had at the start of the year, Jared Witts, averaging 114.8, ownership at 11.9%. He had an interesting thing earlier this year where Coach Stewie Dew said he needed a little rest. He was a little tired, and he was out for about 2 weeks with his needing to have a few naps and stuff. So I turfed him during that time for the guy that's number 1, Tim English. 125.6 is his average. Going back to what we were saying before, there's very few players that consistently score in that 120 range. He did only score 99 on the weekend, but that's an anomaly. But he's at 47.3% ownership. So basically everyone's got him. And just for perspective, the number 2 overall points is Rowan Marshall, who's number 4 for season average. Number 5 for season average. But his ownership's at 50.5. So most people are running that English Marshall combo. Do any of you have anything different?
I'll jump in. Oh, yeah, sorry. Minnie, Mike, you go, mate.
That's all right. Look, I've got I did start with Gawn, but we know what happened there with the 0-0. But I've had English and Marshall for quite some time, and look, your Marshall's not in the top 2, but if you've got him, you're not getting rid of him. He's 116 on the weekend. He scored a 98 the week before that, but he's churning out 120s, 130s. He's even had a 150 in the last 6 weeks. So not even looking to entertain unless there's a longer term injury. Kieran Briggs is the interesting one. Brought in, I think, even with potential other competition for spots, they're not going to get rid of him because he's getting a lot of the ball. He's actually kicking 1 or 2 goals a game. Hasn't had a score below 100. So 114 again in round 13, only 13.9% ownership. His price has skyrocketed a little bit, but I think if you've got a couple of those top 3, I don't think you're looking anywhere else, as I said, unless you've got some injuries that pop up.
Yeah, I concur. I've had English and Marshall since day one, not changing anything. If I was in a position where I had English and someone else, then you can just sort of take your pick. You might roll with Briggsy because he's cheaper. You might roll with Big Toby Nankervis, who's no one owns him, 1%, and his average is pretty similar to the rest. They're all those blokes between 2 and 7 or 8, averaging sort of 115 to 110. Like, there's not much difference. But Tim English, well and truly the standout, and so theoretically, I don't know how the Bulldogs not undefeated when the number 1 ruckman clearly in the game is their ruckman. The number 1 midfielder clearly in the game is at his feet. And then you've got Libba, who's 4th, and McRae, who's a top 6 forward, who really is a midfielder. How are they not just winning every clearance is ridiculous. But that's Bevo, mate. Who knows where they play? So, so that wraps up.
I do need to give an honourable mention to my man Bailey Williams. Is the only guy now averaging over 100 for the Eagles, the West Coast Witches hats. Scores of 110 and 131 in the last couple of weeks. not going to go there, but just like to give an honourable mention to the one of the only guys actually contributing week in, week out for the Eagles.
I think it also going back to what we were saying at the start of the year, the Gawn and Grundy experiment, SuperCoach wise, is certainly not working for them. I mean, they win the game today, and thankfully they did. But yeah, it's not working SuperCoach wise, is it? I think fantasy coaches were a little bit wary, but team structure wise, it's working for them. So why would they change it?
Mm.
Yeah, just the always look for that side has got the one bloke who rucks 80-90% of the time. So English tick, Wicks tick, Vancouver's tick, Marshall tick. Why would you even have Briggsy, mate? He rucks 110% of the time. I didn't see him have a rest at all, the big unit. So certainly some advice for next year. Just go with the blokes who are one out. That's for sure. Moving on, a couple other things to look at. We've got our quick chat about the bye round again. This week we've got the 6 sides with the bye. So the Crows, Pies, Essendon, Hawks, Melbourne and West Coast, which will mean quite a few of us are losing the likes of Dacos and, well, Oliver, if you've got him still, Petrarca, Dawson and Laird, Witches hats. I don't know if anyone's got any of the Witches hats, but we'll see. What are your thoughts for this week, Dan? Any advice for the best 18? Obviously, the ones that score again, but any advice for this, the third of the 4 bye rounds?
Yeah, I think it's again, just like we were saying before, it's looking for those players that have now finished their bye that you can start to bring in. And I think that there's a few on offer. So we're talking about the top 6 defenders, and Tom Stewart's definitely in that category. He's coming back off his bye. You've got a couple of interesting Suns players in Noah Anderson and Matt Rowell, who are also in a rich vein of form. So some interesting picks there. So just trying to go for those players. I think if you are someone in the very rare hair like me who hasn't picked up Jordan Dawson yet, he's now dropped I think like 20 or 30,000 short of what his starting price was for the year. And he's got the bye this week. So maybe thinking about a way that you can bring him in next week. So that's the other one as well. Thinking about, how you're going to bring in some of these guys from Adelaide, Collingwood, Essendon, Hawthorn, Melbourne, not the Witches hats, in the next week.
That's it. We're always looking more than 1 week in advance. So if you're even looking at Zach Merritt as well, might be one that some people are looking at. So the Olivers and Petrarcas who will be back on the Thursday night the week after next. So Mike, any other advice for this bye round?
Yeah, look, my side looks compared to the round 15 coming up. I think I've still got 18 or 19 players, with potentially trades to come. We spoke about Brayshaw already. He's obviously post bye and starting to, his 3-5 round average, as we've spoken about on numerous occasions. He's another one. Luke Ryan. So if you haven't got him it's probably a D4 to D6 position, depending on how that's firmed up for you. And Lockie Neal's also post bye. Whether or not your midfield needs an upgrade in this round. Other than that, the interesting one comes next week, which I'm sure we'll talk about with a lot of key players out next week, and I'm sure a lot of SuperCoach sides in a bit of peril next week.
Yeah, for sure. I was looking at the sides that had their bye. None of the Saints players really stand out. If you haven't got Marshall, and the Swans was sort of, you mentioned Warner, but there's also Goulden, who I nearly brought in last Thursday night, decided not to, and then he stunk it up, I think. So I was glad that he didn't. But yeah, just planning some cash for the week after, just so I can have a sort of competitive chance. In my leagues, I've been so far back that my aim was to win the first 3 bye rounds and then hope for the best in the 4th one. So 2 from 2. So we'll see how we go. All right, the moment that everyone's been waiting for, Rage Trade Corner. Dan, your Rage Trade Corner for the round. Jack Siebel copped a roasting last week. Please tell us the bloke you're about to Rage Trade is actually being traded out. That's the main thing.
Well, look, I'll be honest. I did rant and rave about Jack Siebel last week, and I held him, and he scored 107. So sometimes I just need a little bit of a threat that you're going to be turfed, and they'll come through for you. So I'm hoping that this one might be a bit of the same. And look, it is this guy. I even get into it without wanting to swear. But I just don't understand how you can go to hospital for an infected blister. Like, how can that happen as a professional sports person, that you can't manage your feet well enough? Like, I've had massive blisters in the past, and like you just watch them. Like, you just look at them every now and then. Like, how do you get to the point where you're having to go into hospital and spend an overnight? And then you miss a King's birthday game where your team got up and you could have been there. Oh, I'm just absolutely and the whole thing. Like, I wasn't even supposed to have him. Supposed to have traded him out to Petrarca or someone else, but I held on to him, and now I don't have him for another week. You know, just get your feet right. Seriously.
Relabel this segment to rage retention rather than rage trade.
Yeah, it's Dan's threatening rage trade without actually following through, is what we're really looking at.
Hey, if we had unlimited trades, they'd all be gone. But we've only got 30, 32 or something. What did we start
36, with? Mate.
36. Oh well, yeah. I'm down to 15. So I got to be sensible from here on out with who I do choose to turf. And look, let's be honest, the fact that I've stuck with him through the 2 non-playing weeks and then this one, I think I'll just wear the bye, cop another donut, and hope that he'll be back in some fine form when he comes back. He scored 120 in that game where he did his hamstring in the third quarter. So like, the guy's a clear match winner, SuperCoach match winner, but I don't know what's going on in his head. Just needs to take a bit of a long, hard look at himself.
You've you've realised that you've talked about Dayton Oliver's foot for about 4 minutes of this podcast, mate. So it's good. Good listening, that's for sure. Yeah. We love it. All good. Mike, any advice, last minute advice for this week's captain, vice captain, anything else?
Yeah, look, I'm going to give Timmy a go. He's playing Timmy Taranto. Given his scores of the last 4 rounds have all been, north of 120, 130. I think playing on Saturday night against the Saints, and with the Bulldogs coming up against the Roos at Marvel late on Sunday, I think he's a pretty good choice for VC. Nearly everybody's got him in their sides, and then you've got obviously the chance of going him into the Bont. Won't be Cripps on Sunday, but going into the Bont on Sunday. Or maybe even to young Wardlaw, who's dominating as well. For the young Wardlaw. No, Taranto into Bontempelli for me.
Yeah, what about you, mate?
Yeah, look, I'm just looking through. It's that the Brisbane Sydney game on the Friday night that's taking my fancy. You can probably got a free hit if you've got Butters in your team, to give him a VC on that Thursday night game, Port versus Geelong. And then, look, Dunkley has been a man possessed in the last couple of weeks. I had my captain on him this week with 148. Disappoint. Swans not really ones to tag, so I know they've got Ryan Clark in their team, but he's usually sort of on that defensive tag, or like defensive forward tag or something like that. So I think that Dunkley might be safe from that. And the only other one is, look, I'm looking at it, and stay clear of Cripps and Carlton, because really I've got Sam Walsh in my team, and I don't think he scored above 100 in the whole time that I've had him. And we're up against Gold Coast, and we're probably going to get flogged. We'll probably kick 4 goals, 50. I don't know. Just stay clear of any Carlton players, I reckon, for the next 12 weeks.
Next 12 months. Geelong, mate, you've heard it first, we're going to beat Port on Thursday night in Adelaide, so I doubt Butters and Rosie are going to have a good game when we dominate the midfield. Fingers crossed for that one. I like Dunkley as well. I think the Swans, you could tend to should be able to score well at home against the Swans, and if not into English, I reckon. Who's he reckon against Goldie? So if Briggsy can score 120 against Goldie, so can English round the ground for sure. That wraps up round 13 preview and into round 14. Thanks to Mike and Dan for joining us, and for everyone who's watched. We'll see you all again next week. Good luck with your SuperCoach sides, and make sure you jump on the Inner Sanctum's website to check out the awesome content that we're producing. Thanks very much, boys.